Rachel's legal team just hit the Evita producers with a bombshell lawsuit, claiming they defamed her and wrecked her career.
Even the Vegas bookies are betting on this meltdown. Looks like Evita's financial freefall just turned into the hottest gamble in town.
Evita's officially filed for bankruptcy, leaving the producers scrambling to explain what went wrong.
What if I told you that Rachel Zegler's paycheck for Evita might just ignite a whole new wave of fan outrage? That's right. After weeks of rumors, leaked emails, and backstage meltdowns, whispers are growing louder about a salary figure so huge it could overshadow every scandal so far. Fans are asking one question: how could Rachel possibly be earning such an eye-watering amount when Evita was spiraling into disaster?
Rachel Zegler just dropped a lawsuit on the Evita producers, accusing them of pinning the show's bankruptcy on her.
Anonymous insiders claim the producers did everything in their power to keep the real numbers under wraps, but the truth is finally slipping through the cracks. Just how shocking are these revelations? And what exactly was hidden in Rachel's secret contract that now threatens to rip the Broadway world apart? Brace yourself, because what you're about to hear might just redefine the meaning of the word scandal.
When you're there and you're trying to do your best, you've worked on this part, you spend hours and hours on end trying to get this character just down right for your big audition, and then if you have a producer or casting director sitting there and then eating food in front of you, yeah, it can be very annoying. Personally, I've never had that experience.
The whispers began in dimly lit corners of Broadway bars and late-night phone calls between overworked stagehands. Rachel Zegler's paycheck, they said, wasn't just big, it was colossal, dwarfing the salaries of even the most seasoned Broadway veterans. At first, it sounded too outrageous to be true, the kind of story that fans love to exaggerate. But then came the emails, screenshots with suspicious watermarks, redacted signatures, and dollar signs that made even the boldest gossip hound sit up straight.
A lot of what you see with Zegler is really just a pretty common Gen Z mentality and approach to work. She believes that she should be able to express herself and speak her truth or whatever nonsense, regardless of the consequences to everybody else. In reality, you have a job. You're getting paid to do this job. You signed on the dotted line. You took on the role. And that job comes with certain basic responsibilities. And one of the most basic is the responsibility to control yourself and comport yourself a certain way publicly so that you don't harm the project, thereby harm all the hundreds of other people who are working on it.
One so-called insider claimed the producers had promised Rachel a figure that would make the entire cast look like part-timers. Producers allegedly scrambled to keep it under wraps, the message read, but the leak was too big to contain. Suddenly, every theater blog and fan forum was buzzing with speculation. Was Rachel really pulling in more than $100,000 a week while Evita's ticket sales plummeted? And if so, how did she manage to negotiate such a deal? Fans demanded answers. They wanted to know what was in the fine print that made producers so desperate to keep her happy, but what was in the fine print left everyone speechless.
She's the definition of toxic. Everywhere she shows up, disaster is right behind her.
The figure that started circulating online was enough to make even the most jaded Broadway insiders gasp. It wasn't just big, it was staggering. Allegedly, Rachel's weekly salary soared to an eye-watering $100,000. Yes, you heard that right, $100,000 every single week, plus rumored bonuses that would make even a Hollywood agent blush. According to insiders, every time Evita's ticket sales barely limped above a certain revenue threshold, Rachel's paycheck ballooned like a rock star's tour bonus. Some even whispered that if the show managed to pull off a sold-out weekend, Rachel's bonus could double.
Guess my $5 coffee addiction wasn't the financial meltdown Broadway was worried about? Try $100,000 a week for singing in the shower.
One source claimed could have funded an entire chorus line salary for a month. According to one alleged leak, her contract didn't stop at just salary. It even included a percentage cut of merchandise sales. Every t-shirt, every program, every branded water bottle, and even keychains sold in the lobby. That's the kind of deal you'd expect from a stadium tour, not a Broadway revival on the edge of collapse. One supposed insider ranted. Fans couldn't believe it. How could one actress command so much? Merch cutouts are usually reserved for global pop stars, not someone stepping into a classic musical.
Rachel's lawsuit just might be the final nail in the coffin for those bankrupt Evita producers.
Rachel Zegler is very upset with all of us over the reaction we've had. You can tell this because she's speaking in riddles. Check it out.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Oh, Rachel, I hate to break it to you because people did not actually line up to see you.
Another critic allegedly noted. Insiders whispered that this kind of arrangement was virtually unheard of in the industry, especially for a show already on the brink of financial disaster. How could the producers possibly have agreed to pay her that much when the show's bottom line was already bleeding out? Some said they had no choice. She was the star, one alleged source wrote, and she knew it. Others claimed Rachel's team had played hardball from the start, presenting a take-it-or-leave-it offer that left the producers paralyzed. Either you pay up, or you find a new Evita, the insider said. But it wasn't just the number that made jaws drop, it was what lurked in the fine print. A so-called morale bonus tied to her social media engagement. That meant every Instagram post, every TikTok dance, every cryptic tweet might have triggered a payout. One alleged clause even hinted at a positive sentiment bonus, essentially rewarding Rachel for every fan comment or media mention that painted her in a favorable light.
The Rachel Zegler effect has begun. According to scooper Daniel RPK, Rachel Zegler has been recast in Paddington 3 due to strikes, but I have a sneaking suspicion the strikes are only a cop-out for the fact that she has had so much negative press. She is certainly one of the key reasons why the Snow White movie is absolutely doomed. She's probably one of the key reasons why the next Hunger Games movie is gonna totally flop. And now the folks that are making the third Paddington movie are probably just using the strikes as an excuse to make sure that she's recast. Because I think if they outwardly said, well, we recast her because she just ruins everything she touches, that might not be a good look from the studio.
And then there was the clincher, a guaranteed payout even if the show flopped. That meant no matter how badly the production tanked, Rachel would walk away with every last cent. It felt like a contract designed for a global superstar on a sold-out world tour, not a musical teetering on the edge of total collapse. And that's when everything changed. It wasn't just the headline number that made Rachel's paycheck the talk of Broadway. Dig a little deeper, and the story took an even more jaw-dropping turn. Deep in the shadows of her contract, insiders claimed she'd managed to secure a series of hidden bonuses that would make even the most seasoned Hollywood A-listers green with envy.
But it's also really important to me that I share with you not only the really good, exciting moments, but also like the little blips where I just don't feel great. I think that's really important that you see me as a human being because I think a lot of people don't. So I don't know. I want that disclaimer.
Allegedly, every time she posted on social media about the show, Instagram stories, TikTok videos, or even a quick tweet, she received an extra payout that made her every bit as powerful as the show's marketing team itself. Some claimed she even had her own social media assistant, dedicated to ensuring she posted just enough to keep the bonuses rolling in. And that was just the opening act. One supposed source claimed Rachel had also negotiated a lucrative slice of the show's merchandise sales. Every t-shirt, every program, every branded water bottle. For a Broadway star, that's practically unheard of. It's the kind of deal usually reserved for pop stars with stadium tours, not for an actress. In a musical revival fighting to stay above water. Some insiders called it a stroke of genius, a modern star playing by modern rules. She knew exactly what to ask for, one alleged insider said, and she got it. Others, though, saw it as the most brazen money grab they'd ever witnessed. No one on Broadway gets a slice of the merch, a so-called industry insider ranted. That's reserved for rock stars and pop idols, not theater actors.
Like, I'm the first to admit when I saw her interviews, I hated her. I was like, ew, how snide. Ugh, how condescending. And then I was like, well, wait, she's acting it up. They told her to do that. You can't tell me this young woman was cast in such an iconic role and went, thanks, I hate it. No, let's use our brains. We have been pushing girl boss, girl boss, girl boss, strong women, strong, strong, strong. We've been pushing that for so long. They tell her to give us that and we shit on her. I don't know. I just feel like that's so goddamn mean.
But the biggest shocker came when new rumors surfaced of an even more controversial clause, a so-called VIP engagement bonus. Allegedly, this payout was tied to private meet and greets with high-profile donors, sponsors, and even producers themselves. That meant every time Rachel flashed her smile for a wealthy patron, the show's coffers got lighter and Rachel's bank account got fatter. Some even speculated she had a minimum number of meet and greet appearances she had to hit each month to keep the payments flowing. It was the kind of detail that made some fans question whether Rachel was starring in a musical or a corporate fundraiser in disguise. And that wasn't the most shocking part. Far from it. The producers found themselves in a nightmare that no Broadway budget meeting could have prepared them for. According to one alleged memo that leaked like a cracked faucet, they had no choice but to pay Rachel's demands.
The Rachel Zegler effect has begun. According to scooper Daniel RPK, Rachel Zegler has been recast in Paddington 3 due to strikes, but I have a sneaking suspicion the strikes are only a cop-out for the fact that she has had so much negative press. She is certainly one of the key reasons why the Snow White movie is absolutely doomed. She's probably one of the key reasons why the next Hunger Games movie is gonna totally flop. And now the folks that are making the third Paddington movie are probably just using the strikes as an excuse to make sure that she's recast. Because I think if they outwardly said, well, we recast her because she just ruins everything she touches, that might not be a good look from the studio. But my speculation is that is actually what's going on.
She was their last shot at salvaging Evita's reputation after the media fiasco. Every time her name trended on social media, ticket sales spiked, at least for a few days, and the investors' phones stayed mercifully quiet. The entire production seemed to revolve around Rachel's star power, no matter how unpredictable it became. One so-called manager's email put it bluntly: "We're stuck between a rock and a hard place." Insiders claimed that if they tried to renegotiate, Rachel's team threatened to walk away, leaving the show's fate hanging by a thread. Without her, the final lifeline would vanish overnight, and with it, any chance of breaking even on the show's enormous budget. The producers, insiders say, were terrified of the financial black hole that could swallow everything. "We can't afford to lose her, no one else will draw a crowd after what happened," the email read, but fans didn't know about the secret plan to keep Rachel happy at all costs. Every time she demanded a bonus, the producers quietly found the money, borrowing from other departments, delaying payments to the set designers, even skimping on marketing budgets just to keep the star satisfied. And yet, even with all these sacrifices, they were always one step away from disaster. The show was teetering on the edge, and the house of cards was about to come crashing down. But fans never expected the bombshell that was about to explode. As soon as the alleged figures hit the internet, fan forums and social media feeds lit up like a wildfire. "She's getting that while we're paying hundreds for tickets that evaporate overnight?" one outraged user posted. Twitter hashtags exploded. "Refund Evita now," one Rachel Zegler Paygate, and even a savage "Muck Evita or bust" that mocked the show's financial meltdown. Fans were no longer just skeptical, they were furious. One popular fan blog called Rachel's paycheck the final insult in a long line of betrayals. First she ditches the fans, then she tanks the show, and now she's walking away with enough money to buy the whole theater, the post ranted. Some fans even threatened to boycott any future production with Rachel's name on the poster, insisting she'd lost the trust of the entire Broadway community. Petitions started circulating like wildfire, demanding transparency from the producers and refunds for the fans who felt duped by the ticket prices. Screenshots of Rachel's alleged contract made the rounds, each line dissected for proof of greed. The show's already battered reputation was now bleeding from every angle. Then, out of nowhere, a new scandal emerged that changed everything. Rachel's alleged response was as unapologetic as it was shocking. According to one supposed source, she didn't even try to deny the figure. Instead, she claimed she'd earned every single penny through her talent, her brand, and the massive buzz she brought to Evita, even during its most controversial moments. She argued she'd carried the show through its darkest days, and if the producers had offered her that much, who was she to say no? Critics, however, saw it differently. She's not a Broadway legend, she's a TikTok star with a killer contract. One alleged insider sneered. They claimed Rachel used her social media clout as leverage, knowing producers were desperate for any kind of attention to prop up the show's shaky reputation. She used her star power to secure an ironclad contract, the same insider said, and now she's untouchable. Rachel's camp allegedly fired back at these critics, suggesting they were just jealous of her success and that she was simply playing by the rules of show business. But was this the final straw for Evita's producers, already struggling to keep the show afloat? One rumor hinted that a surprise twist was about to unfold, one that even Rachel didn't see coming. The fallout from Rachel's alleged paycheck was immediate and devastating. Within days, insiders claimed, Evita's budget was shredded beyond recognition. The carefully planned numbers that once promised a smooth run now lay in tatters, with every line item suddenly coming under the microscope. One source described it as a record-breaking loss, with some investors whispering it was the biggest meltdown since Cats, and some even compared it to the infamous Spider-Man turn-off the dark fiasco. Theater owners reportedly demanded urgent explanations, while accountants scrambled like mad to find ways to keep the lights on and salvage even a shred of credibility. It wasn't just the accountants who were panicking, even seasoned producers reportedly couldn't remember a time when so much money vanished so quickly. Rumors swirled that producers were now seriously considering legal action, desperate to claw back at least some of the money that had slipped through their fingers. They're weighing options. Everything's on the table, one insider warned. Lawsuits, countersuits, endless lawyer calls, anything to shift the blame and keep the investors from bolting. Some insiders claimed that a few desperate producers were even considering bankruptcy protection just to keep Rachel's contract from draining the last dime. But the real bombshell came when whispers started that Rachel might turn the tables and sue them instead. Allegedly, her team claimed that if the producers reneged on any payments or leaked confidential details to the press, she'd have every right to fight back in court. With an ironclad contract in her pocket, some feared she'd win, and that thought sent chills down more than one producer's spine. Fans, meanwhile, were left reeling. Would Rachel's star power survive the backlash, or would she find herself blacklisted from the Broadway stage forever? Some wondered if she'd retreat to the world of Hollywood, where controversy is often just another day at the office. And with new rumors about another high-profile project already on the horizon, could Rachel's next act be her most shocking yet? Stay tuned, because this story is far from over. Rachel's alleged paycheck, the hidden bonuses, and the backstage panic. It all came together to paint a picture of a Broadway meltdown like no other. From record-breaking weekly earnings that dwarfed even top-tier salaries, to secret contract clauses that rewarded social media posts and rumored producer panic. That reached fever pitch. Every twist in this saga left fans more stunned than the last. Was Rachel simply a savvy negotiator in an industry where cutthroat deals are just part of the game, or did her paycheck truly help sink Evita from the inside? One thing's for sure, this scandal has completely redefined what fans think they know about Broadway's biggest stars. But is this really the end of the story, or just the beginning? Stay tuned, because we've only scratched the surface of the drama that's yet to unfold. Do you think Rachel's paycheck was fair? Or did it sabotage Evita from the start? Let us know in the comments below.